Canata is just putting down his missile turrets, so the wraiths are going to be rendered useless soon enough before, the cloaked rays coming in. So cloak has been researched, but that's not going to help Fantasy much with the turrets over here. Wraiths are so weak. A couple of Goliaths can take down one wraith in a matter of seconds, pretty much. Now Fantasy's trying to come in, get a little bit more harassment done there. I'm not sure exactly where the factory went for Fantasy. I think he probably floated that maybe back to his base. I'm not sure where it went, to be honest. But yeah, Fantasy is in here with a Wraith, but there's a turret there, and he sees that and backs off. Actually losing a Wraith in the process, so yeah, Fantasy's kind of being stopped left and right here. Canata's moving out. Canata's going to try to break the front here. Not the best timing in the world for Fantasy. Fantasy is floating his command center down, and he's going to put that down and try to get some mining there. But he's going to be very low in troop count. He has some cloaked race here trying to pick off the tanks. That's going to be critical if he can pick off those tanks and actually take this tank down. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do it, though. I think Scan is coming up soon. Yeah, Scan is coming up for Canata. He scans the Wraiths, almost takes down one of those Wraiths. So this plan might be backfiring for Fantasy. He's still trying to pick off this tank. Oh, a scan there from Canata. He takes out one of the Wraiths, barely taking that out. And now Canata is being very aggressive. He's pushing the front here. Barracks being picked off from Fantasy, so that scouting barracks is going away. And yeah, Kanata's going to have to rebuild his barracks if he wants to put down any more factories at this point. Fantasy finally getting his second base up and running, but he's way behind Canata here. And both guys, I'd say, are pretty tied up here as far as economy goes, because Canata has finally SCV'd back up, gotten a bunch of SCVs at his main. But Canata, I think, has the larger military count. Mostly because Fantasy had, actually Fantasy has some tanks on the ground right now. He has 4 tanks, a couple of Marines. He has 2 machine shops spinning, so I think, this is going to be very, very bad for Canata if he lets Fantasy use his vulture upgrades effectively. Man, Fantasy is so scary with those vultures. I would be quaking in my boots if I saw one of Fantasy's vultures coming into my base. But yeah, Canata looks like is going to play defensively. I think he has some troops out in the field, but that's probably not going to work because Fantasy is macroing back up to compete with Canata, and it looks like we're going to transition into a pretty standard game now, starting off with 2-port versus a fast expand. But now we're starting to get into more, the Vulture's trying to sneak by. Canata doing a good job picking those Vultures off, making sure they can't get any economic harassment there. And I think Fantasy was actually laying some mines. I see a lot of white dots there on the map. The barracks finally coming back up. Ooh, taking out that barracks might have really hurt Canata because Fantasy is getting a lot of factories out and Canata can't. He has no way of getting factories up before he builds another barracks. So, yeah, taking out that barracks could have been a crucial point in the game. Looks like Fantasy's coming up here with another cloaked race trying to pick off this tank. But yeah, that's definitely not going to work. Double scan is up for Canata, picking off a hero Marine. Died valiantly. But yeah, a lot of factories out here for Fantasy. So Fantasy actually manages to use the excess of factories here. Gets a lot. Oh, he dropped some vultures into the main. Oh no, dropping the mine there, actually taking out quite a few SCVs surrounding that tank, trying to take out the tank with mines. But that tank is being repaired by Canata. Very smart play by Canata to surround that tank and get it repaired. But yeah, Fantasy playing excellently there, dropping vultures. That's what he does best, dropping vultures into the main, terrifying the opponent. And I think Fantasy took out quite a few SCVs with one of the mine blasts there. And finally, the starport coming up for Canata, so it's probably going to be a dropship strategy from him soon. Going to try to use dropships in his advantage. And he's doing a good job picking off the mines, making sure that a lot of Goliaths are with the tanks at all times. Tanks are not really fast enough to pick off mines, but a bunch of Goliaths are. And Fantasy is going to do another vulture drop here. He's running his vultures. He has vulture speed ups, and he has mines. So his vultures are going to be very deadly here if he manages to drop even more into the main here. He's going in with his dropship. picking up 3 vultures, and he's going to drop them in and try to get even more SCV kills, but that tank there might make the difference. I mean, Canata finally got his barracks back up so he can make more factories, and actually, wow, Fantasy is denying the factories here. He picked off an SCV that was building another factory, picking off another SCV there, and he still has a vulture inside there, and he has mines all over the place, so Fantasy's playing very brilliantly, and he has a lot of tanks out here, so he might be able to defend against this push from Canata. Canata is going behind the base, so he's probably going to try to destroy the pyramid and maybe go back there, or maybe he's going to try to intercept any more dropships that might be coming his way. But yeah, this is absolutely insane from both players here. I thought the Fantasy was way behind after his attack failed with his Wraith, but he seemed to have macroed up just fine to compete with Canata. Kanata's coming up here. A lot of mines coming in, and Fantasy is taking the high ground with his vultures. So he's going to try to drag the mines into there. And Kanata's still doing some more mine clearing while Fantasy lays even more mines down. He's going to siege soon and try to get rid of these troops. He does siege over here with a lot of tanks, way more tanks. Fantasy has a lot of tanks here to compete with Kanata's tank count. And Canata, he does have the high ground, but he's being inched forward here. Fantasy, dang. Look at this play from Fantasy. I've never seen anything like this. Because Fantasy definitely was behind after that Wraith. Well, I guess the number of SCVs that Fantasy took out evened the game up enough. So even though he lost all of his Wraiths at the beginning, it didn't make a difference because he took out enough SCVs to really even it out. But man, absolutely insane. Look at this macro from Fantasy, bringing in all of his tanks, and Canata just can't keep up. And taking out that barracks, I think, was absolutely crucial. Usually when you see a barracks go down in a Terran versus Terran, you're like, well, that's just going to delay some factories for a little while. But that made a huge difference. Kanata's coming out with all of his SCVs, actually taking out all of the tanks here. So absolutely brilliant play from Canata to bring in those SCVs and take the splash damage from the tanks. But a lot of vultures coming in. And this is it. Man, Fantasy is pushing with all of his vultures and all of his tanks, even though he lost a ton of tanks. It doesn't matter. Fantasy, oh, GG from Canata. Fantasy pumps units like a Zerg. Man. Wow. I was actually a little bit worried for Fantasy moving into this because I know Canata has fantastic TVT, but jeez. Fantasy, absolutely insane. I think Fantasy's going to make the finals, honestly, even though he's on the same side as Jaedong. It's good to see these guys shaking hands, by the way. But yeah, I think Fantasy is going to make the finals. I don't think anyone can stop Fantasy. Just looking at the way he played there, absolutely insane. Wow. Well, this has been Nuke. I'm going to move on to the game that you're probably all waiting for, Zero versus Jaedong. See you soon.